Have you scoot forward a touch? Yep. And turn a little more. Yeah, I like that better.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Nice and cozy. Let's go ahead and... Oh, you want that back? Here.
Yeah, leave that for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing it?
No, I'm doing you.
You're doing me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's fucked up. This is like too deep of Inception right now.
Alrighty.
Wait.
So.
Add video, record, press and hold. Huh, I think we're recording right now. Sup everybody. We're doing like a crazy sort of Inception deal right now. We're about to go live. That's us video streaming about to go live, and this is me on my phone talking about going live. So if you can wrap your head around that, please message me about it, because I'm already losing my mind right now. Learning Kung Fu in the Matrix like Neo, except like double the speed. Like I got 2 prongs right locked into the Matrix right now. Yeah. Okay, anyways, I'm done yapping. Come check us out.
We gotta find the stream at the...
Oh yeah, find the stream on YouTube,
right
Liquid Sound Disciples. Beep. Wait, did I finish? Next.
Where's the Facebook?
Settings. Bluetooth off.
Sweet. Did you just fart, bro?
Yep.
Cool.
I think we're recording right now.
Oh, sweet. We can just share it off from here.
We're doing like a crazy sort of Inception deal right now. We're about to go live. That's us video streaming about to go live. And this is me on my phone talking about going live. So, if you can wrap your head around that, please message me about it, because I'm already losing my mind right now. Learning Kung Fu in the Matrix like Neo, except like double the speed. Like I got 2 prongs right locked into the Matrix right now. Yeah. Okay, anyways, I'm done yapping. Come check us out. Peace. Cool.
Okay.
Right caption.
Alright, dude. Alright. So I think that's going to be our format for a while, everybody. If you're tuning in now, or if you're tuning in later and seeing the video afterward. You know, because we're starting off small, we don't have our own like dedicated link quite yet, and with more viewers, we will eventually get that dedicated link. But until then, I think our best plan of action is just to get started with the stream early, let it run for a few minutes while we send out the posts, and you know, and then hopefully people will join us and you know get fresh. So. I hate to like be rude, but I've noticed when you go and like hang out with people anymore these days, half the time they're all on their phone anyway. So
I know. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what I should put in this caption to get people to hit us up. Do I need to like put our live stream right now? Should I put Liquid Sound Disciples at YouTube, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't. Well, no. This is our shit. Put down Liquid Sound Disciples live stream 6.
Okay.
Because otherwise you have to use this long code over here. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah. Might be. Oh, we need a description.
Liquid.
The fresh.
Live stream 6.
Yep. Citrus and Ephewe are here to help you waste your time better.
Oh yeah, we are experts at this shit, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. This is what we do.
Our whole life has been dedicated.
We are time killers.
Murderers of time. In any city where there's time, we are on the most wanted.
When time travel finally exists, we will be banned from using it. They're like, fuck these guys, dude. You know? We're not even allowed to show up early. He's like, no, these guys are just gonna ruin it.
I have to, like, copy all my hashtags and shit. It's this internet thing. Being plugged into the Matrix, it's a wild experience for me, y'all.
Yeah, would you be down to have, you know, an import in the back of your head to speed things up if that was possible, pues?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if it meant that I could, like, have really big shitty books that I don't want to read through, just instantly, it's all in there, and I don't have to, like, go back and look shit up. It's just it's in there now.
If you don't want to read it, why would you want it in there?
Well, it probably has, like, textbooks on growing marijuana. Like, that's got a lot of information in there I want. But I don't want to sit there and try to memorize the chemicals that I need to memorize. And, you know, there's a lot to it. It's a complicated math. It's a real textbook.
So it would be, like, implanted in there, and you could access all of the information at will, as if it were a thought that you had actually learned.
Right. Like the book is my brain.
Alright, I'm down with that. Okay, yeah. That'd be pretty fucking sweet.
Right?
Sweet. Hell yeah. What you been up to, man? It's been a while since we've been online, live.
It has.
Yeah, I feel like much has transpired since then, Kano. Kano, pues?
You know, I feel like you're right. I'm not even 100% sure. It's like so much happens so fast. How much has happened since the last time? I guess we didn't post during Christmas or anything, did we?
No, so for the New Year's.
We skipped a couple of weeks. Anyways, I'm going to actually post this now.
Word.
And to my everything. Let's see here. Me and Cody have been together for a year now.
Oh, shit.
Super happy about that. Officially on the 16th is our anniversary. We decided the day that he gave me a ride home from Boulder one time was the day we started dating, because we, like, admitted we had feelings for each other and shit.
Oh, what? Was it all romantic and stuff?
It actually really was. Cause
fucking barf.
I did not think he was a possible, you know, partner for me to be with, and then it's like, oh wow, this is very possible. Let's try this out.
Nice, nice. Congratulations. So, an anniversary. You guys have anything cool planned?
We're gonna get massaged for sure. That is
Diggity.
That is the biggest plan we have. Other than that, man, we're just gonna be real nice to each other and fucking enjoy each other's company.
Well, you should do that anyway. I'm just saying.
Yeah, all other days of the year, we're just arm wrestling.
Yeah,
and
fuck that shithead.
Yeah, totally. Just setting booby traps for each other, buckets of water over the door.
Okay.
Spring-loaded boxing gloves and drawer cabinets and shit.
Cool.
We try to keep it lively.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay, that's cool. What did you do for the holidays? Anything cool?
No, man, I grew weed. I spent my holidays with the ladies, which honestly I don't feel bad about. Most people are like, "Oh, you had to work on the holidays." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Weed keeps growing." They get Christmas too. It's the exact same thing as every day for them, but Merry Christmas, here's some more nutrients.
Yeah, did you smoke weed on Christmas? Somebody had to grow it.
Yeah,
I mean, duh.
Exactly.
Cool. Anything for New Year's that was fun or?
No,
worth mentioning?
not really. Not really.
Isn't it weird how the older you get, the less you do for New Year's? You're
Right.
like, I don't really want to even stay up that late.
Really, the dates are changing.
Right.
You get the chance to be a brand new person every single day, every single moment of your existence.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like, January 1st, that's when I'm making the changes. Just do it when you need to.
Seems really cheap, like, to wait that long. Like, you don't love yourself enough to do it now. You have to, like... I mean, I can understand, you know, like, by New Year's I'm going to be drug-free.
Oh.
Right? That'd be hard to do overnight, you know, but you make the decision today. You don't, like, go to rehab. Do you think rehabs offer fucking discounts for for New Year's recruits? They're like...
New Year's special.
Because I know at the gym where I work, they totally have specials for New Year's, you know?
Right. Everyone's like, the date's changing, so I can actually get the willpower to work out now.
Yeah, and I think that's like a really shitty way to prey on somebody. Just like, hey, at the end of the year, waste your money at our establishment for for 2 months. Yay!
Man, I started working out one time, and I discovered that it caused issues with my medical issues. It like caused some flare-ups, and I had to get a physical therapist from like 3 years ago to write me a doctor's note to say that I could like get off of the program with them, because I signed up for like a year program and shit.
Oh no!
It was pretty easy. It worked out fine.
You got your money back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that's fucking crazy.
I know, right?
What a weird thing. Like, yeah, right, dude. If you can't follow through with your New Year's resolution, just admit it, man. You're never gonna improve unless you can admit it. No, seriously, I have. That's what they all say, man. I'm too fat. I'm too lazy. The problem is you, bro. The problem is you. You didn't have a personal trainer?
Nah. I saw other people with personal trainers, and I just sort of stumbled in really stoned around them. One time, because I worked right across the street, right? Trimming marijuana, which growing marijuana I do smell pretty bad, but I think trimming is worse.
You mean pretty nice.
Okay, I smell pretty great. But I reek, right? And when I'm trimming it, I feel like there's a lot more terps involved, and it just... You know, you spill a lot of weed all over yourself, and so the particles are all over you. And then I just walk right into the gym, and I start working out. And I went into the locker room, and one of the owners, this older guy, he was standing over me while I was packing my stuff. I was, like, kneeling down. And he's like, "You can't smoke weed in here." I was like, "Oh, I swear, I work across the street. This is my job. I didn't smoke it. Like, if I wanted to smoke weed, I'd just do it outside."
Right. Sir, I'm already high. Well, I used to love to get baked and work and lift. It's really hard to do cardio when you're baked. But lifting, man, you just totally get in the zone. You're just like, yeah, and dude, and then you're just so hungry when you're done. You can, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy that too.
Pretty sweet.
Although I do become one of those guys that waits like 5 minutes in between each rep because I'm all stoned and just like put up the bar. I'm like, ugh.
Just looking around. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working out. This is good for me. I'm working out. Even though like 75% of the workout is sitting
there congratulating yourself.
Good job.
Yeah. That is pretty good. That is pretty fucking funny. Hell yeah. So, word up, dude. All right.
What about you? What do you New Year's stuff? What happened?
Shit, New Year's I got to go back home and see the family, dude.
Right.
Blew my mind. Oh my god, I had such a good time. It sucks that I had to come back, but business as usual. Got to get back to it. A really exciting thing was I got to go see the 405. You know what the 405 is? That's the area code for Oklahoma City, and so. They have this TV show called Street Outlaws, and it's a drag racing show. They do 8th mile stretches in these really mean street cars, dude. They're so savage. They're insane. And we got a chance to go see them, and I was like, my dad, rumor has it, he used to drag back in the day. And so he was always talking about going to the races and how badass it is, you know. He's like, you got to get as close as you can so you can feel it, you know. You can actually feel the shockwave of the vehicle as it takes off the line. I'm like, cool, that's tight, right? So we end up getting there, picking up some seats, and it's like, man, we're not going to feel no shockwave from here. This is bullshit. It's going to be lame and boring. No. That first race went down, and my jaw fucking hit the bleachers. So, dude, in like 3 seconds, they're at 160 miles an hour. The race is fucking over. Like, whoa, dude, seriously? If it's 3 seconds, I'm not even sure it's an entire 3 seconds, dude. It's so insane. You can just, the sounds, and you know, they do burnouts to make their wheels real sticky, so they have good friction and thus good traction when they take off on the green light. And, you know, you get that smell of the rubber, you know, sticking through the air. And then, you know, I mean, you could, like, just seeing and hearing them, you know, you get this real visceral sense of just how much force and raw power and speed is just barreling down that I want to call it a runway, but it's a track, you know? And sure. There was one race in particular, and I wish I could remember who was racing, but it was... Dude, it was just so intense. I could actually, like, feel shockwave in my ear from the motor as it's going by. I'm like, whoa, fuck, dude. It was just like electric doesn't even describe it, dude. Wow. Atomic is the word, you know?
That's crazy, man.
But I don't understand where the term drag came from. I walked all around that bitch. I didn't see RuPaul anywhere, dude. Not one where, dude. I was like a little disappointed.
Yeah.
And there's like probably the only racetrack in the U.S. where when a car backfires, everybody ducks, you know, because it's Southside Tucson. Like, oh, fuck. Dude, it's just a car backfired. Chill out, guys. It's not that big a deal, you know. There was a wreck. Thank God I missed it. I might have barfed or something just because, like, I was standing in line. Dude, they have You're at the races, right? You would expect things to be fast, fast, fast. Mm-hmm. Slowest concession stands on the planet, dude. On the planet. Flash, 100-yard dash from Zootopia was working. It was terrible. Everywhere. It was terrible. I missed at least 12 races trying to buy a fucking corn dog, dude.
Damn, bro.
I was so pissed. I also missed the wreck. But as I was coming back, I was struck with this, like, sense of, you know, I could hear the announcer, you know, over the PA system saying, hey, let's say a little prayer for this guy. And I'm looking around, you know, all these people buying fucking churros and nachos. And here's a man, we don't know. He could be smeared all over the inside of his roll cage. His wife is obviously freaking out. Let's say a little prayer and, you know, go get some tacos. It's going to be at least 2 hours before the next race, guys. Sorry. What the fuck, dude? This is like, luckily the guy turned out to be okay. He... an hour, maybe 2 hours afterward, he was walking around saying hello, and they did a little interview, and he was talking about his game plan to get his vehicle back up and stuff. But it was just really, to me, it was kind of a surreal thing to experience that, you know, all of us are witness to a man's life hanging in the balance, potentially, you know. And
sure.
How much did we honor that? You know, I've been hanging out with the hippies too long, dude. Fucking shit. I fell into my heart space and I can't climb out.
Someone dug this big ass hole, covered it with sand and dirt, and then I fell into my heart space. Now I can't fucking climb out of this, bitch.
This is the last fucking place I want to be, alright? It's all warm and fuzzy in here.
Totally didn't see it coming.
It's like a velour room.
It's like a velour room.
That's how my heart is. I'm on the outside. I look like this rugged, you know, fucking granite landscape. But really, dude, I'm a velour bed.
And it spins.
Yeah, with mirrors on the ceiling and candles all around. You know, little chocolates on the pillow. That's me all the way. All right, man. So you might ready to do a ripple dibble?
Oh yeah.
All right. So you had told me that you wanted to talk about. Let's start off with the simple shit. Ghost. Okay. What's on your mind with that? And I looked up some stuff I want to talk about, man.
Oh, dude, that's the thing about ghosts, man. I don't think anything about that is simple. I know, you know, there's 3 places people stand.
Okay.
Either they believe in ghosts. They think, yeah, sure, it's possible. Or, no fucking way. No fucking way those shits exist. And what you'll notice is everyone who believes in ghosts has seen one of those motherfuckers, has actually, like, experienced it. Okay. So that's why they're like, I know for a fact these motherfuckers, there's no way I experienced anything else. I fall into that category. Yeah, reality is a bunch of ones and zeros, probably, according to Elon Musk. It's probably created by our perception more than anything. If you don't believe in ghosts, and your reality can't really hit that spectrum, you know? You hit a small spectrum of light that you can see. There's a small spectrum of sound that you can hear. And, like, if you don't believe in it, I don't think that sound spectrum will ever open up to that space where you can witness it. But if you're like, yeah, it's possible, then maybe you'll end up running into one of those motherfuckers. I don't really know how it works. I'm just rambling about possibilities.
Well, okay, so you say you fell into the category of someone who has witnessed a ghost, and that's why you are a believer.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Okay, so when I was 16, I moved to Colorado Springs, and the house I moved into is like 100 years old. There's like venting and weird passageways throughout the house that I think was used for like a coal system to heat it up.
Okay.
And anyways, we move in there. My dad's not around very often, and I just, like, even though I'm home alone, 100% of the time, it sounds like somebody is in the house with me. Okay. There's footsteps going around upstairs, doors opening and closing. You know, I hear voices at night. It's like, of course this place is fucking haunted. If you weren't a believer and you moved into that house and that shit started happening, you would become a believer. And, you know, I feel like skeptics don't find themselves in those situations. I think if they go into that house, the ghost is moody. You get scared. If I have 12 people hanging out there, ghost doesn't come out. Ghost doesn't start talking to us.
Why not?
I don't know. It's when I imagine it's because it's when I'm vulnerable, you know, like, it's done shit when there's 2 or 3 of us there, but...
And so those other people
will
bore witness?
Bore witness, yeah. I have multiple friends that bore witness to the ghost. But if I had a lot of people there, it wouldn't do anything. And if I was by myself, of course, it was like the most active. If I was stoned by myself, it was like, now's the time to attack.
Now that brings up the overarching scientific question. Is in, you know, I did a little bit of research this week about ghosts because, you know, I like to know some stuff. And interestingly, in science, ghosts have never been disproved. Like, ghosts themselves as an entire existing concept cannot be disproven as of yet. However, just about everything that has been investigated by scientists has been offered a very reasonable, much more, you know, parsimonious explanation. So, for instance, getting high. Now, I know that getting high does not cause hallucinations. I've never been that high, on pot anyway. So, you know, and even then, like, hallucinations when you're on hallucinogens are very different from what I think are, like, convincing occurrences inside the brain that drives a person crazy.
Right. You might see the room change colors and warp a bit, or you might see a crazy pattern in the wall that makes a picture you didn't see before. But other than that, usually what's in front of you is actually kind of in front of you. Jesus isn't going to walk into your house and, well, unless he's actually going to. You're not going to hallucinate Jesus walking into your house and being like, hey, let's change your life.
Right. Now, I think... Okay, well, we're getting off topic there. So that's my question. How... I mean, for somebody that has never smoked pot, how can you convince them that pot did not have or that being intoxicated, or that being tired, or maybe you were hungry. I mean, being hungry can cause legitimate hallucinations of things.
Yeah, but 24/7, even when I'm not stoned. You know, like,
Okay.
if you think it's because I've done too much acid in my life, you're free to believe that. I've done acid quite a few times in my life. I don't think I've gone that deep with it. I've known people to go deeper and have a more steady mind frame than I do. So, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you can believe whatever you want. I know what I saw, and I know what I believe.
So what were these sights and occurrences? What happened?
Okay, so first of all, there's just too many to count. I generally would just see shadows. My friends would actually see a tall man in a white robe.
Ooh, like Slender Man
I
in
don't,
karate gear?
I don't remember them describing him as slender, but they said, like, we would all look the same direction, and, like, I would get feelings like, oh shit. You know, like, there's a certain ghost feeling that I knew every time, you know, like, shit would start happening once that feeling came up. They were synonymous with each other.
And what is that feeling? What was it like?
It's like an inner fear mixed with, like, the same feeling I think would go down if you saw a train doing, like, a 360 off the train tracks. Just like,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
you know?
Yeah, you'd freak out. I have to decline this.
But you would also,
shit.
you would, like, not move. You know what I mean? You would just
Yeah.
kind of sit and bear witness. That's kind of the feeling that comes across me. And that feeling would come up pretty often, and usually something would happen around that time. I've heard it, like, one time, this was pretty early on, it would be like breathing in the corner of my room.
Oh shit. Get out of here. Okay. Okay.
And I would, like, after, you know, I would just try to wait it out, and then after a while I would sit up, turn on my light, look in the direction of where I heard it. I don't see anything, and the voice quiets down, but it's still there.
Tell them I have to call this.
Where? I'm like, okay, and then I lay back down, turn off the light, and it goes right back to normal. It was like a person ran really fast from somebody and hid behind a bush and was, like, trying to stay hidden. That was the kind of sound of the breath. That was, like, a regular basis. That happened within the first couple of weeks, repeatedly happened for the year and a half that I lived there after that. One time I was sitting watching TV and I heard a sound in the kitchen that sounded like a fork scratching a plate. And then I was like, oh, what the fuck is that? So I had a relationship with the ghost at this point. I knew it was the ghost. I was home alone. My strategy was just to ignore it. You know, the less attention I give it, the less powerful it gets, the more it just sort of goes away, and maybe it was just in my mind, whatever. So I start turning up the TV, and it literally scratches louder and harder. And I was like, God fucking damn. So I turn off the TV, scratching stops. Okay. Walk into the kitchen, I don't see anything. There's not even a fork or a plate to make the noise that I was hearing. That was clearly fork against plate. I'm like, hello, is anybody here? And I hear just a huge ruckus start going on in my father's room. It sounds like dresser drawers are being thrown against the wall and just a hurricane is going off in there. So I run over and I open the door. Everything's perfectly fine. Drawers are all in the right place, which is also weird because he rarely ever cleaned his room. But, you know, probably just caught it in one of those moments. That story, I know, is pretty anticlimactic. But a lot of the stories are. It's not like all of a sudden I had to fight the demon off or something like that. Although there was a point where I realized that the ghost was having an effect on me. And at that point, I turned shivering cold from head to toe. It was like 80 degrees outside. I was shivering to the bone. And I just needed to stay away from the house for a while at that point, and I stayed at my friend's house, and sleeping at my friend's house, I would just be tossing and turning and tossing and turning. Just ruthlessly, like a alien was trying to pop out of my chest. I didn't sleep at all for a little while, and I could feel how far away I was from the house, like at any given time. I moved to Tucson, and when I got on the plane to come back to Colorado Springs, I could feel myself getting closer towards it. I had an interesting relationship with this thing.
Was it hot?
No.
Oh.
No, it was not.
Dude, I'm really bummed out I missed the story, but that's what I get for being so popular with...
It's all good. I was saving the best story. So I was hanging out with some friends. I'm like 16 years old at this point. We're all drinking and smoking in the homie's garage. There's probably like 12 of us or whatever. And I look at my thumb, and like on this part of my thumb, there's this inscription in deep dark red. It's like a deep dark red rash, but it looks marker red, you know? And it's under the skin, and there's sort of like 3 prongs going in either direction, and like a squiggly line and some dots. It looks
like an insignia type of thing? Like, okay.
And it looked very specific, but it didn't look human whatsoever. There was nothing familiar about it. It's just like, what the fuck is this?
Okay.
So I was showing everyone around the room, like, this wasn't on me this morning. What the fuck is this? One kid recognized it. He's like, I am allergic to weeds, and when I pull weeds, I get a rash like that. I'm not allergic to weeds. I hadn't pulled weeds in years at this point, so there's no way it was that. Anyways, inscription sort of fades away. I forget about it. Don't think anything of it. I go back home. I'm chilling in the basement in my room, and in the basement there were vents in the door, so if you were sitting at my desk, I could look up and see anyone standing there through the door. And like I said before, I could never really see the ghost, but I knew when it was there.
You would get that fear feeling.
Right.
Okay.
So I was just sitting there jamming the music, and I thought I heard like the TV or something, and it would like turn on the TV and do weird shit like that. So I just turned down the volume on my computer to check it out, and simultaneously as I was turning down the volume on my computer, it was like this low murmur in every single direction around me, like I was surrounded by subwoofers. Goes like that on repeat. The exact same inscription comes back on my thumb, bright glowing red. There's light coming off of my thumb. I'm like, oh shit! And I started running upstairs as fast as I could. My room kept all of the subwoofer noise, like it was reverberating and staying in my room. And
like a vacuum? Like when you left, you couldn't hear it at all, or it was like
muffled?
No.
It was like I was running away from the noise. The noise didn't follow me, it stayed in my room.
Okay, whatever was producing the noise was in the room and stayed there.
Yes, and then as I got upstairs, the inscription just sort of faded away. Like the further I got upstairs, the more it disappeared.
Damn, Gonyo. Okay.
Yeah. So that was definitely the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I don't know what would have happened if I said I could have been possessed. I've had psychic friends tell me, and you know, you can take this, I always take things with a grain of salt, you can take it whatever way you want, but they said they would take everything that is me out and then put whatever is them in.
Who does this? The ghost?
The ghost, yeah.
Why?
So it had a body, so it could start doing some shit.
Okay, so are ghosts benevolent or malevolent?
I think that there's both. I think that positive ghosts don't have as much of a reason to just like show up. Have a reason to just, hey, how you doing? I'm your friendly ghost Charlie. Here's $20. You know, they don't do shit like that. You just like all of a sudden get a warm feeling, and you get this voice in your head that says, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna get through this. That could be the effect of a good ghost. It doesn't need to show its face.
Okay. So what are the motives of a bad ghost? I mean, why would they want to...
You know, I think it's the same things that happen to us. It's like when we get wounded and we stop being logical, we think like, I need to outlash against this in order to gain some feeling that I have control. I need to dominate something. I need to crush something. I need to,
Okay.
you know, so it's like the same way our perspectives can get misconstrued to think that we need to do terrible things to other people. I think the same things will just happen to ghosts, and they get locked into these perceptions.
It's a really interesting point of view. It makes a lot of sense to me. I once read an essay by a woman who had been a caretaker for a dementia patient. And she said that she had, you know, received all kinds of warnings of what it's like to work with such a patient, that it can be really irritating and, you know, downright emotionally draining. One of the most irritating parts of that is the repetitiousness of their behavior patterns and their conversations and the questions they ask and the way that they ask the questions. And she said after a while it really started to wear on her, and then one day she had an epiphany that this person does not mean to be annoying, and this person really does not care, who are you? Or maybe they didn't even really forget, but they are afraid that they are losing touch with reality and that they are losing touch with existence, and that by knowing that they can get under your skin and then have that effect lets them know that they still exist. They're still able to exert some form of influence on the physical reality that they know and have known.
Right.
So perhaps, is that what you're saying, that ghosts perhaps are trying to
that's the identity that they've gripped, yeah.
Okay, they're trying to remain relevant or consistent, constant. Okay. So, alright, so I've had 2 experiences with ghosts. Okay, so the first one, I'm pretty sure that they were just tricking me. I'm pretty sure I was being tricked. Whatever it was, it worked in the moment. Okay, but looking back, I'm like, wait. So, I don't know much about the backstory. We were in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and it was me and a girl and this guy and another guy I think was there that night also. And I'm drawing a blank on all of their names right now. I can't believe this. Anyway, I know exactly what they look like. The chick was chubby. The dude was such a douchebag looking fuck. And then the other guy, totally like her. What was her name? Whatever it is. So she was from there, and so was her friend that I didn't know at all. He was just there that night. And then me and this other guy, like, we all 3 worked together briefly, and that's how we were on this trip. Okay, so she had told us about this valley on the north side of the town where there was an old railroad track that's never used anymore, hasn't been used in a long-ass time, and that there's a cemetery at the bottom of this valley, and that the story goes, if you go, you know, up the side that has the railroad track, that you could stall your car and it would continue to rise up the hill. Legend has it that there was a school on the other side of that hill, and a bus was taking the town's children to the schoolhouse, and they stalled on the railroad track and got hit by a train, and everybody died.
Oof.
And those are the bodies that are buried in the grave at the bottom of the valley. And supposedly that those little ghosts come up and make sure nobody gets stuck on the train track.
Oh, wow.
So we were out there that night, and we were drinking, we were smoking. Back then I was doing a lot of pills, so I'm sure I was doing a lot of pills. But yeah, story has it that we went out there and person, you know, did the car or whatever, and you know, I do remember having a very strange sinking feeling. I do remember the car sinking back a little bit and then going forward. Again, you know, I'm sure they were just playing a trick on me, but at the moment, it fucking worked, dude.
So how, if the car was off...
See, and that's the thing.
Neutral.
Was it really off? I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
and
you're
like how much
saying-
of it did I want it to happen? You know, placebo
Right.
and
You're on enough pills that the car could have been running.
or drinking or smoking, whatever. I wasn't in a lucid state where I could focus and really, and I wasn't driving either.
Totally.
You know, so whatever. But the one that really makes me unsettled was several years back. I was watching. Okay, so I was staying with my old lady out there, with my wife out there. Well, we weren't married at the time. Okay, and so I was hanging out, and a couple of times I had heard the gate outside, and I went to look, and nobody was there. But that could easily be explained by the wind, or some kid walking around kicking it, or an animal, or whatever, right?
Right.
Didn't really think anything of it, okay? But there were a couple of times where I, could have swore that I heard the gate and heard somebody messing with the door. I mean, I swear that I heard that.
Totally.
And nothing. And I just thought, that's very weird, and that happened a few times, and I just kept thinking, and at this time, I was actually refraining. I was really getting off of a lot of stuff, and so who knows? Maybe I was whatever. However, one particular night, this is after maybe a month, 6 weeks of that, right? I'm hanging out. The kids are all sleeping. Tara's asleep over there in the other room, and I'm watching TV, and I keep hearing this. Some like whispering and murmuring, and I'm just thinking, because I do sound engineering, I just figure, oh, it's just the audio, that I'm listening to from the TV, bouncing off the hallway and the tile and off the kitchen wall and bouncing back towards me. I'm sure that's what it is. It makes perfect sense. But then I noticed that there's a time when, like, between the commercials, when it's kind of silent for a minute, like it had a black screen for just a second, and the murmur continued. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And I tried to ignore it, but it just kept, eating in the side of my head, eating in my mind, that didn't seem right. So I started turning the music, or the TV down, but the murmur didn't really seem to get quiet. That doesn't make sense. So I muted it, and the murmur continued. What the fuck? And I leaned forward, and all of a sudden it goes, Brandon! Oh, fuck, dude. I do, right now, just thinking about it, I got the chills, dude. I was all, fuck, dude. Yeah. I turned the TV off, and I went and checked on the kids, and I went and laid in with I was like, dude, pulled her arm over me and put the blanket up over my head. I'm like, fuck, dude, they can come get the family, dude. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to lie right here and just hope that I can live and tell somebody this story, because nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to believe it. Dude, that's how I went to sleep, man, freaking the fuck out, dude. And in the morning, I told her, dude, you got to get the fuck back at, come move in with me.
So, is Brandon a name that makes sense in any context? Doesn't...
I mean, I've met people named Brandon.
Right, but...
You know?
Well, that's fortunate, because I would much rather a ghost say a random name than my own.
Okay, so now that you brought that up, here's one that's kind of weird. And I want to know how this app works. I'm sure it's just a trick also, but back in the day, Tara and her mom were really into this ghost hunter app, right? You put it on and you could point it somewhere, and it would tell you if ghosts were nearby or had been recently, right? And you could set it on a setting, and it would translate sounds out of the air and say these are what the ghosts are saying. Well, Tara's dad died, and him and I got along a few nights. And other nights we really didn't. I mean, dude, it was like, and when he died, I don't know why, but that night we were standing around the kitchen listening to the Ghost Hunter app, which normally just did random ass shit, but this one was just stuck on David. And it was obviously pissed. And I was just like, I'm going home. Fuck this, dude. I don't need this.
That is horrifying.
I know.
Oh, to those who don't know Goody well enough, one of many names of Goody is David. David is actually his birth name.
That's my gummit. What my mom calls a Christian name, even though it's Hebrew. It's awesome.
So the ghost was using the same name that your parents would.
Yes, and that's the name that John would have used for sure.
For sure.
And it was just kind of like, well, you know what are you gonna do about it, John? All right, you're just a little voice. This is terrible.
Yeah, little boy's trapped in an app.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
What? Ghostbusters, I got you in the little box.
Can't punch me if I'm fucking your daughter anymore, can you?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what do you think, what do you think ghosts are? What is it? What's going on?
Well, before I say anything, I do want to say that I don't know. Really, genuinely have no idea. But I do have theories. I've heard people say that existence, everything around you, is actually 100% consciousness. Everything is just made of consciousness, and that's the only, real thing. Like, this table is in the state of being a table, but it won't be a table forever. It'll be energy that transmutes into something else at some point. Okay. Just like our flesh and our everything. So, I think ghosts are a piece of that consciousness. They are consciousness. It's energy that's moved in a certain direction.
Okay, so explain more consciousness, because I want to make sure I'm on the same page.
They could be the transmutation of your father-in-law saying your name on the app. He is now no longer human. He is something greater than that, but the energy that was him, that just left the protein suit. The energy of this is left behind, and whatever was him, per se, has moved on. And that could be a ghost. I also think that, I don't know, if he's that way for 4,000 years and has done a whole bunch of shit that had nothing to do with that lifetime, and he's lived 1 billion different lifetimes, then really, the state of being a ghost doesn't really necessarily have to be attached to having been human. You know what I mean?
So you're saying, okay, so you're saying that each of us we have a consciousness, and that consciousness is an energy that experiences the world, the life around us, okay? And that energy is an individual, actual existing piece of energy that doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a vessel known as, a physical vessel. It can just exist.
Right,
around.
Okay. So think about this. If I tell you to think of the word milk, you can hear it in your head, right? Mm-hmm. You're not making any noise. That's not real noise. That's not something your body physically did. If I tell you to picture a glass of milk, you can see the glass of milk. You don't actually see shit. It's not in front of your eyes. So you can see without eyes. You can hear without ears. You can talk without a mouth.
But
all these things could equate to ghost or consciousness.
But all of those things are also, I have seen a glass of milk.
Right.
I have heard it. I have tasted it. I've just read this book about octopuses. The proper way to say plural octopus is octopuses. Octopi would imply that the root word octopus is a Latin word, which it is not. It is a Greek word, thus it is conjugated plurally as octopuses. I don't know why we do that in America, but we do, and it's wrong, so stop it. But octopuses do not see the world the same way that we do.
Okay.
Okay, so if you show them a glass of milk, and let's say you were able to explain to them, or, let's say you're able to communicate to an octopus, and you ask them, hey, imagine a glass of milk, he's going to look at you like, what the fuck is that? Right? Oh, it's this. And then when you finally show it to him, it'll be hard for him to register because he or she is not going to drink it, and if he does, he or she likely will not like it. He or she, what are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I imagine without the computing system of the brain, that consciousness is different. Just like being an octopus, that has a different brain, different computing system. Its whole reality has got to be completely different. But I'm sure it could still imagine food,
Right, we know that it can learn and recognize things.
Right. Anyways, I think it is, I guess all I'm saying is like those abilities you have to think, hear, and see without any of the physical aspects, I think you do sort of keep that. I don't think you necessarily need the brain for a lot of the contemplation of existence that goes on. The brain is more of a mechanism to drive this car,
Okay, so it is the cockpit where your consciousness resides to operate this vessel.
Right. But it can just be an energy. It can just...
Okay, so the consciousness... Okay, so... I'm trying to figure out...
I don't think it's defined to your body. Like, your consciousness... I can put my consciousness in Boulder right now if I wanted to, in my old house, and a past memory and a future memory. I can create events. You know what I mean? It's not confined to my body.
Okay. Astral projection. Okay. So what does that have to? So where does that tie into ghosts? How does that consciousness being, separate of your brain, how does that relate? Like, how does that make ghosts?
I think that there is the choice to incarnate, and then there is whatever the hell that other plane is. And there's probably a lot more. I've read books on this shit. There's like the ether realm and and then they have more spiritual names for higher realms and stuff. So I think that depending on where your consciousness is and what it needs to develop and grow and become something bigger and have a different experience, it's like I probably spent a long time not being a human in between my incarnations,
Okay.
And there's probably spirits or energies that watch over solar systems and control star patterns, and I don't really have any proof for all this. This is just me thinking of stoned shit.
Word. I'm glad we can admit that. It's, here at The Fresh, we thrive on honesty.
I'm just saying stuff that sits well in my frontal lobe. It sits well in my brain piece, and it makes sense to me. But I also accept that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Not necessarily true.
We are not theologians.
Right. It's more of a thought experiments.
Right. Yeah. Thought experiments. I get it. I had a theory about ghosts being explorers from another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
That they're coming back here. And my reasoning for this is because ghosts always seem to be tied to a place, and their behavior seems to be very repetitive, and typically quite predictable, which sounds a lot like a controlled experiment into an environment that you were not comfortable with.
For sure. I could dig that.
Yeah. So I am interested in the idea of what happens to our consciousness when we're gone.
Okay, how about this? I think this is a good, another thought experiment on the repetition thing, like the ghost heads to the same window at every time at this particular time when it was killed or something, and it sort of like relives an experience, like a frame of a movie that's caught on loop over and over again.
Ooh, Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
it's like if something happened to that consciousness that it can't get past, it doesn't know how to figure it out or learn about it, it doesn't understand why it happened, it'll just keep repeating it over and over again until it gets it.
Okay. Like relearning the lesson?
I think so. I
Okay.
mean, that's sort of my guess.
Or is it more like a bee flying through a window, trying to fly through a window because it can't see the bigger picture?
Yeah, I mean, well, if someone's severely traumatized by their father, then every single man in their life after that is the fucking problem. They're caught on a loop of like, God damn these fucking men. So like the ghost is doing one of those, like, God damn this fucking situation. Why did this happen to me? Fuck this thing that happened to me. And because it's so stuck on it, it can't escape it. It's like it needs to find some level of forgiveness or closure in order to move on from it.
It's really interesting how organically we moved into this next segment. I hate to get off of ghosts. We're definitely going to come back to ghosts at another date. Hope you guys can check in. But let's discuss more of the consciousness as it exists inside this vessel, experiencing this thing that we call life.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of... You know, the idea is we were going to discuss balance, and you were just listing off a bunch of different elements that comprise the human consciousness, the human existence, and all of those things have to be balanced, or, you know, so, why did you want to talk about balance? And then I'll discuss a little bit about, I did a little bit of research about balance also. Oh, one thing, yeah, never mind, go ahead, yeah.
So, I brought up balance because it's an enigma in my own mind. Like, what is a truly, like, balanced life look like? Is that necessary? Do you need to have a balanced life to be a happy person? You know, what is this concept of balance? Because there are times where I feel like things are very out of balance for me, and I need to, like, make some effort to bring things into an equilibrium. How do you know when you're out of balance and you do need to do that? Because I think there is points in people's life where it's, you are obviously out of balance right now, you know?
Out of whack.
Out of whack.
About to way out.
It's almost like, I feel like life doesn't really ever hit a point where it's like, alright, smooth sailing from here on out. It's always like, oh, I'm teetering a lot this way, I better bring it back. Oh, I'm teetering a lot this way now, gotta bring it back. You know, you have brief moments of level, right, but it's only seconds later that you're teetering the other way.
Of course.
And maybe you get better at teetering, so you just sort of stay in this field, and it's not as intense, but, you know.
It's still gonna happen.
It's still gonna happen. You haven't reached the ultimate balance. And there's almost something very unbalanced about the idea of, like, your schedule for every day is laid out, you do everything perfectly all the time.
Right.
It's like, you gotta do something extreme. How boring. You gotta do something extreme. Go get fucking wasted or something. Go make some mistakes.
Go get chocolate wasted, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started off, when we picked this topic earlier this week, I decided to look up the word balance. And so balance, for those that don't know, is an equal distribution of weight to ensure stability and steadiness. It is the act of equally distributing weight to ensure steadiness. It is comparing things against other things. It is organizing things in comparisons, and ultimately the overarching definition is that it's the maintaining of equal proportions or proper proportions of different elements to ensure stability. So, what does that mean? That means, obviously when you're standing up, you have two sides of your body. You got to keep them balanced, like you were saying. The teetering, teeter-totters, seesaws, the tightrope walking guys that have the bars and with the, for balance and all that. Your checkbook, you balance your checkbook. So you're comparing how much you've spent to how much you have, and you're keeping that organized. If you're running a business, you balance your ledger. So you keep your inventories balanced. Your ecosystem everywhere you live has to be balanced. I mean, all of that from...
Right. I guess that's what's interesting about it is we talk about having our life in balance, but life is a very broad, enigmous type of term, while, balancing your checkbook, there's numbers in there. We know when it's balanced. We know when it's out of balance. We know when it's not. It's listed right there.
Right.
That was the only
so, well, and with nature, we see balance has sway to it.
Yeah.
1 year, there's a lot of deer. And a lot of deer does a lot of damage on the grass. And it's good eating for the wolves. So the next year, there's a lot of wolves. And they kill off most of the deer. So now there's not a lot of deer, the grass grows back a lot greener, and the wolves die out, and the next year there's a lot of deer again, and it's, years these cycles take place.
Right.
Ebb and flow, it's the, tide of things.
Right.
So you're absolutely right, it's not, you strike a balance, it's not a pose that you hold, for eternity, it is an act, an activity, an action, something that continues, and you have to actively be a part of that pursuit. Where does balance start? I think I do want to just start off by saying that this really calls into mind the 4 pillars of Liquid Sound Disciples. For those that aren't familiar, we are part of a music group, Liquid Sound Disciples. More of a cultural thing. We do arts and everything like that, videos and such. And we also are very philosophical in our approaches to life, and we believe
philosophical.
We believe in the 4 pillars. That the 4 pillars is what it takes to be happy. You have to have mental sorry, I don't know, I'm all over the place. Mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and community health. If you have all of those things, then, or if you're working to keep all of those things improving and well balanced, then you will be a very happy person. And with that in mind, I'll ask you again, where does balance start?
I mean, naturally, I think as soon as you're born, you are on the path of trying to find a balance with existence, You're already there. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, you are already beginning. Some people get a bad start because if your mother's inner flora isn't that strong and didn't provide you a good inner flora, then you're kind of starting off on a limp leg.
If your mama's womb is a stink box, then your life is going to be a shithole.
I mean, literally gut flora and vaginal flora, it's all about positive bacteria, I think, is a huge part of health. They find that children that were born with, a stronger set of flora is just in general healthier throughout their entire lives, just way better performing. And I think there's something to that. Anyways, so yeah, I'd say it starts as soon as you're born. I don't think a lot of us start worrying about it until either A, a problem starts happening, or B, you become an adult.
Okay. So I would agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. I think, okay, so when you reference the microbiome, God, there's a million ways we could take this. I just had this discussion with my kids recently about the microbiome and about parts of life, and there really is no good or bad. When you're discussing about keeping things balanced, there is not a positive or a negative. There's only neutral, and everything has an equal part and has to be there. There is MRSA on you and in you right now. You are carrying E. coli as we speak.
Totally.
I mean, we are all just massively infected with horrible, horrible things that are keeping each other balanced and in check.
Totally.
There's a lot of things that we're doing to ourselves that are disrupting that flora and causing issues for us. I just saw this compelling video that discusses the way that we digest food being completely based on the gut biome that is passed on, gut and vaginal biome passed on by our mothers at birth. So you were referencing how kids that have poor flora, typically have more health problems and more problems down in life. And this is typically in reference to kids that were born with cesarean section or by a cesarean section are usually at higher risk for things like eczema and asthma and digestive issues. And it's because by being born sterile, because cesarean section is very sterile, they are only exposed to something like 10,000 microbes, whereas when they're born vaginally, they're exposed to over 50,000 microbes that they inhale and swallow, and that starts their life, and they're covered in it. And so it's interesting when they start talking about how, and even you have experience in your battles with Candida, the way it can affect your mood or the way it affects your energy levels and your output. I think that when a woman is pregnant, she is typically in the best health of her life because she is, first of all, flooded with endorphins and the oxytocin that's associated with being a mom, and those chemicals are definitely associated with being happy and healthy and vibrant, and they always say that they're glowing even when they're not showing. You can tell, right? Because you just got a glow about her. I want to go pinch those cheeks and give her a hug. So they're taking care of themselves. Since they're taking care of themselves, their biome is probably rocking the house. And they're passing that on to their kids, and then they're glowing for a few days or weeks or months after the birth, and they're sharing that glow, via breast milk and snuggles and kisses and, swaddling with their child. And they're looking out for their child's health. And then at some point when, the terrible twos or whatever, it starts to get, mom's got to go back to work, baby starts resisting all the healthy stuff and has discovered sugar and sweets and all that kind of stuff. Now their biome is starting to get out of whack, and I could see how that affects their personalities, is the long-winded thing that I'm trying to say.
Oh, man. I mean, when I learned about Candida, I immediately thought, oh my god, we're living in a fucking zoo and they're slowly feeding us poison in every direction. Because in order for me to eat in a way that didn't feed Candida, I had to avoid all food ever, especially the food that I liked.
But see, we are the zoo.
Right.
And we are feeding
the zoo, yes.
The other creatures. So, what's happening at the same time that parents are giving up on the dietary battle or, becoming a little more lax in the dietary battle. This is also the same time when kids are, wanting to do more lazy things and be less exercise oriented outside. They want to be more on the television or, and I don't know what it was, 50 years ago, sit around and, pick their nose or whatever, make paper airplanes, whatever, just be unproductive and inactive.
Right.
And so you're lacking in exercise. So since you're lacking in exercise, your physical health, along with what you're eating, those are starting to diminish. Those affect your mental health. Now you're able to, resist your parents, and now you're able to see things differently, and now you have emotions involved. And, this is a whole new set of feelings that you have to manage, and they can make you feel real bad and make you not want to do anything, which furthers the, sedentary lifestyle or whatever it is. And then you have to, you start coming to terms with, or start having questions of, why are we here? And, then, that becomes like the birth of your spiritual side. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?
I remember the day I became like a person that contemplated things in an existential manner.
Really?
I remember the moment. So somebody, like, God was always sort of just a vague concept that was there. My father was Christian. My mother is a shamanic astrologer, closer to like the pagan, but really into a lot of religions, and because I had both of their perspectives, God was more of just sort of this background entity that I thought of as a real thing, but I didn't have like a religious point of view on it, so it was pretty open. And I remember thinking, if God created everything, who created God? And I asked that to my brother. I was like, hey, if God created everything, who created God? And he said, man created God. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. Who thought of the motherfucker? So he exists. That's it. That's all it took. And then, I just started going down that train of thought after that. Of course, once you start unlocking doors, it just keeps on going. And all the doors don't really lead anywhere. It's just a big maze with no destination.
Right, and that part kind of sucks. On the one hand, it's fun because you can run around, ding-dong ditching doors all fucking day. But at some point, dude, you're like, damn it, I just want some answers.
I do and I don't. I mean, I like getting confirmation that leads to more doors, because if I ever get that final thing, then what the fuck else am I supposed?
Then it's time to shut down and start a new video game.
Right. The mystery's over, and that's what I think life is actually about. What people don't realize, it's not figuring out the mystery; it's enjoying the mystery.
Enjoying the mystery, yeah. Don't fuck up the magic show.
Right.
Okay, so how does one strike balance? Is that what we're discussing?
That is what we're discussing.
And if anybody has any thoughts out there, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, a lot of the reason I bring it up is because truly I don't have any solid answer for this. I think it's different for every person.
I disagree. I think it's the 4 pillars for everybody.
Okay.
And I think it starts with
okay.
with the foundation is a desire and a commitment.
Well, all right, here's something I think about. Would you say, like a yogi who might have had his family and his guru at one point, but just at a certain point in his life decided to go off, live in a cave, and he's just a yogi now by himself? He doesn't have a community. Do you think his life is out of balance? Is that too extreme? What if he's happy? What if he really enjoys that?
Well, the community around him, there is a community that exists, a community that he left. And if that community is too far out of balance, then, he needs to leave it. If there is enough of bacteria in you to make you sick, you need to eradicate it, right?
Well,
but you can't get rid of it completely. Surely he thinks of the community still.
Right, but you put it that way, and now I want to go move up into the mountains and be a yogi because this community is pretty sick, right?
Well, I don't know. It's unbalanced. The problem is I think that we're getting farther and farther out of balance. But you trip and fall. Right. So totally. I think that the yogi that ditches, I think that he is unbalanced because he's giving up. I think that he's giving up. I think that if he's going to clear his mind and then is going to bring that knowledge back, bring that serenity back and share it, that's the mission. But to just have this enlightenment and then go and keep it all to yourself, fuck you, we don't want you anyway. Fuck out of here.
But does that mean he had an out of balance life? What if he just goes out and his body just transforms into light? He transcends to the higher level of consciousness.
I don't think he will because he's not doing anything because if there is this consciousness that exists, you know, like we were discussing with the ghosts, then you can't just use up all of this magical protein suit for a lifetime and not do shit with it. I really don't think that's how the deal works. I think that, hey man, you want to get out there and be somebody? Get the fuck out there and be some. Look at a cheetah. A cheetah runs 65 fucking miles an hour whenever it's fucking hungry. It doesn't just like, yeah, I'm the fastest there is. Just gonna chill though. I'll just wait for the dinner to come to me.
Well, okay, how about this? If you believe in law of attraction on some level, then emitting thoughts is something that affects you and those around you. And
admitting thoughts?
Thinking thoughts. Just having thoughts go on in your head, it shoots out like radio waves, right?
Okay.
And other people receive that shit. Like, right now, us two sitting next to each other, they can see that eventually brain waves intersect. Like, when two people meet at a bar and they see each other from across the bar and they start flirting, eventually the biorhythms match up. The one person will scratch themselves and the other will lift their glass, and then it's like they move sort of rhythmically together without even realizing they're doing it. So we are sort of affecting each other when we're around each other. I think it would even be safe to say that we affect everyone on the planet when we're not around them. And if somebody's sitting and meditating on nothing but positive, life-changing mantras of like enlightenment for the world, then they're taking action in a way that I think actually is positive, even though you don't physically see them doing something.
I think it's like, to me, that's like, you know, you're a hunter and gatherer, and this one dude has an idea to, you know, dude, I've been collecting all the best seeds from every meal we've had, and this is the best place in the whole valley to grow them, and I'm going to grow them here, and, you know, and I'll share them with you guys. And the other guy's like, yeah, you have a really good idea. I did the same thing. See which one does better. I mean, the guru is the guy who's going off and just throwing his seeds out there. Let's see if these fucking grow. Let's see if that works. You know, the real, you know, guy who's going to have an effect, the guy who's really balancing his life, is the guy who's going to go into the field and tend those seeds. I'm not going to just throw this seed. I'm going to, here, sir, you hold on to this seed. And I'm going to tell you about this seed. I'm going to water this. I'm going to give it nutrients, fertilize it.
Okay.
I'm going to shade it from the sun. When somebody comes and tries to poison my seed, I'm going to block that. I'm not going to let the weeds in. I'm going to keep the pests out.
Okay. See, that's interesting. I agree with you on one level, because I often think to myself, you know, some Buddhist temples pretty much have classes for rich people. They give their teachings to rich people, and you know, they sit there and meditate on like compassion and joyous experiences for the rest of the world. So the intention's in the right place, and they say that that energy shoots out and affects the rest of the world because we're all interconnected in that web. So I do believe that has some effect, but it takes a lot to keep that temple open. It's out in the middle of nowhere. That money could easily just be spent on creating homeless shelters, doing some, you know, making irrigation systems in third world countries and shit. But that's to say that I know the best way to put our energy. You know what I mean?
But there is better ways. There are more gooder ways to do it. More better, you should do it this way. More better, you should come get me. I'll tell you how. I could do it easily, but they don't pay me. Okay, the rich people. Here's why, okay, maybe that does have an effect. For how long are they on this retreat? Let's say they're there for a week. Let's say they pay, whatever, $5,000.
Right, they get their seeds watered and nurtured. They become a more compassionate person, and maybe they go build a homeless shelter.
I don't even think it's like that. I mean, when you give, even if you give a live plant to your sweetheart, you know, I mean, you give them a rose, right? It wilts in what, 10 days or something, right? You give them a live plant, they have to water it now. They have to transfer it to a bigger pot when it's time. They have to clean up the leaves that fall. They have to add the food. It doesn't just stop. You have to keep putting into it. So, you know, if they go and get the seed planted and watered and fortified and then leave and get back into their same old dull routine, that plant is going to die. Not only that, but all of the energy that they put out in that 5 days, what are they doing for the other 360 days? What energy are they? Hey, look at this plant. Let's throw some shit on it.
Okay.
And some crap. And some shit.
Well, I mean,
let's dance on it.
I suppose basically the argument I'm hearing from you is that physical energy and action is more effective and more like valuable than spiritual.
No, I'm saying that they have to be balanced. And if you're not doing physical community work, then you're not doing your part. You're not doing enough. Think about it like this. Something happened to the monk to make him decide to go to the cave and forego community. Right? Something happened. It probably was not cool. Right? Because if the community was like, hey, we love you, this is terrific, stay here with us, why would he want to leave that?
I mean, okay, so I don't know enough about the culture to know if this is fact, but from observing it in my experience, you know, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, but I feel like a lot of the times monks get chosen at birth. The family's just like, you're going to be a monk. Kid goes off, now he just has to listen to whatever the Lama says or whatever the guru says, and Lama's like, all right, you're going on a 3-month retreat or you're going on a 3-year retreat. I don't want to see you until you're fucking done. Go meditate every single day, and that's it. That's your practice.
And it sounds pretty unbalanced. That sounds terrible. It sounds awful.
It sounds terrible to you, but I disagree. I think it can be a wonderful thing. I was only on a 6-day retreat, and I know that if I went through months or years, I would go through a lot more ups and downs with it. But in that short span of time, you realize all of your problems are still there, and they're right up here. You can't blame it on anybody because there's nobody around you anymore. It's always been you 100% of the time. So now it's just you and your mind. And as you spend time with just yourself, you eventually make friends with yourself, which is something you might, never get to experience otherwise because you're just constantly surrounded by people. You're sort of comparing your identity and getting your identity from their reactions. You don't have a full sense of it because you haven't just been by yourself. You haven't seen it or witnessed it when it's alone.
Okay. So I guess I should have asked some more deeper questions because, I definitely understand, see, and promote the value of having retreats and being, in a state of silence and being in a state of isolation of your choosing.
Right.
All right, this llama kid didn't fucking choose it. Hey, you're gonna go be a monk.
Okay.
Hey, you're here with the monks. Your parents didn't want you. Guess what? We don't want you either. Go sit in the fucking cave for 3 months until you learn how to act right.
No, I don't really understand how. Basically, the monk that I knew, he was picked at 5 years old. He's like, you're gonna be a monk, and he has 4 brothers and sisters. None of them had to do that. He was the one that had to go be a monk. It wasn't because he was bad. It was just someone in the family needed to do it. And
that seems weird to me.
You're not Tibetan.
like how shitty.
He said he was really mad until he was 14, and then he realized his father had made the right decision. This was his path.
Okay.
Which maybe that's programmed into him. Maybe that's fate. I don't know. Maybe a combination of the two.
But at some point when he's there, though, he contributes to the house the temple or something.
Well, okay. See, this situation is not a person out in the caves.
Okay, yeah. So let's get back to the person that's out in the cave.
Right.
All right. Like you, for instance, right? You said, well, it makes me want to do that. Why? You say because this place sucks, right?
No, because I think that the environment is sick, and it's almost like we could help. I feel like if 1 billion people all meditated on the transformation of human consciousness, all at the same time for like an hour, you'd feel that shit, Like, they don't have to be physically there. You would feel that shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it would have an effect on us. I think it would actually create a positive ripple effect. And that's what I think is going on when one person decides to go out and be that transmitter.
That's too much spirituality. That's unbalanced. If I felt that and I was not part of the 1 billion that was meditating, that would scare the shit out of me. That would not make me want to be a part of.
How would you know what it is? You would just feel something. You would just be like,
right.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
it could be a positive feel. It could be a really warm, snuggly feeling, and you just write it off as that. You go about your day.
And what if it debilitates me? What if it's just? What if it's? What do you mean a fantastic feeling? I've been so high that I couldn't think straight, and that feels great, but it's debilitating.
Well, they're not getting you high. They're
But transcendent, like that sort of spirituality has made nuns cry. It has, like, for no reason they burst into fucking uncontrollable sobbing, just because they're moved by the Holy Spirit. Like, I mean, you can have too much spirituality. You know what I mean? If I feel that and I feel this rush and I feel good, what is that? Let's say I'm in the middle of robbing somebody. I'm like, fucker, and this feels so nice. Now I'm just gonna want to rob people more. You know what I mean? I'm a billionaire, and I'm fucking in the middle of another deal where I'm gonna lay off 10,000 people because I'm buying a company that I really don't care about. And
I feel like,
wow, I feel really connected to these 10,000 I'm laying off. Let's do this again next week, guys.
I don't know, man. I feel like you're mixing up the emotions, like the emotions of endorphins and dopamine with like that raw spiritual joy,
mm-hmm. So here's the thing, like feeling. I don't believe that 1 billion people meditating is going to make
and it's not. Yeah, it's not a matter of feeling. It's not a matter of what they're doing is transmitting the thought forms of may all of these people get enlightened, may all of them reach their highest joys and their highest potentials. That could mean they get divorced. That could mean their car breaks down today. That could mean fucking anything, We don't know how karma works, but they're sitting around with the intention of the highest, basically. And because, like, I think if like 1 billion people get together and do that at the same time, like some major shit would fucking happen. And I don't think it would be too much spiritual. I don't really understand what that would be. Too much spirituality just seems like either you're getting too much that you're not ready for, or you're going on the wrong side of the spectrum, like you're praying to a Ouija board to bring demons in or something.
Okay, so I feel like too much spirituality is just like we're talking about the guy that thinks I'm enlightened. Fuck this. I'm gonna go away.
Right, which is actually just too much ego in disguise.
Right.
In a very flimsy disguise.
Okay,
it's not
but
actually spirituality.
But it's spurred by his belief that he's being spiritual. I mean, he's not just going. I mean, if you're going off into a cave, who are you showing off for? Nobody gives a shit. You're off in a fucking cave.
Exactly. Okay,
so. I mean, I get it. It's his ego thinking he's a badass, but that's what it is for all of us. Our ego is part of that spirituality thing.
I think you'd really drop the whole "I'm a badass" thing. I don't think your ego would have. If your ego's too big, you're not gonna go out into the cave.
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making. It's a spiritual choice that he's making.
Right.
To clear his spirit of what he thinks is the shit and grime of the community. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So how is that too much spirituality?
Because something has pushed him to this place. He's been injured. Probably. He has decided that this world is sick and disgusting and is not safe for him. Okay? Rather than fix it, he's going to leave. So he's going to leave and he's going to live in this world where he is, oh, I'm so spiritual. Ah, I'm giving all my to the world. Ah, spiritual, 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 spiritual. And I'm not eating a lot of food and I just drink as much water as I need only. And I, don't impact the earth. Ah, okay, great. You have wasted all your lessons, everything that people have vested in you. Unless you come back from this time alone, unless you come back a well-balanced person and use that to balance your community, you are wasting.
That's
you are wasting.
What most spiritual paths teach is to bring it back.
Most spiritual paths do teach you to bring it back. I do disagree with you, though.
Why?
I just feel like you don't have to bring everyone with you to have a positive effect. Nor do I think is this experience about, we're pack animals, we're community animals. I like to be in a community. I'm not saying I want to run off and not talk to anybody and just meditate all day. But I think that if somebody does that, like they renounce absolutely everything, then
forever.
For the rest of their lives, which is a fucking blip in a spiritual scale, it is a pin drop in the entirety of the thing. Once their spirit crosses over to the other side, they may become something that can watch over all humans at all times and like do way more than you're even possible of thinking about, because you're still inside of your shell.
So, but all of our existence, all humans' existence, kind of points to, the reason people don't believe in God is because there is no power really doing that. Bad things happen to good people, and, the plan, there's a plan to have more people on the planet than there ever was before, and for that number to keep growing, and for us to ruin everything, and for us to be so, right? I mean, if somebody really could get to that, I think they would have done that by now. I understand. Again, I understand. It could have
happened hundreds of thousands of times, billions of times, and you would just not know.
Right. And so what good is that? I mean, if they're changing the world, wouldn't we know about it? Like, wouldn't the world start becoming a better place, and we'd have some sort of spiritual understanding that, oh yeah. But what it is we have a spiritual understanding right now that we're all suffering, and that we want to end that suffering. And by you leaving, you end your suffering. Good for you.
For sure.
But that's not very spiritual when the community, think about it like this. I mean, you have to eat. You have to eat. Okay? So, I mean, you're killing a plant. Even if you're just a vegetarian, you're killing a plant, all right? If you're very spiritual, then you understand that there was energy that went into growing that plant. There's a fucking sun, right, burning more energy than we can imagine. Who knows how much that costs? How much is it worth? Who knows, right? And it's coming all the way down here. And this magical thing called photosynthesis occurs, right? Wherein light is turned into chemical FOAD, right? And then, like, I go over here and I pull this magical creature out of the earth and eat it. And more happens inside of me, stuff that, I can't explain without science that was given to me by community. Man, and I'm like surviving. I am surviving and giving nothing back. Nothing. This has been going on my entire life. People have interacted with me. I have learned. I am the man I am today because of everybody I've met. There is no way I can be who I am without the people I've run into. If I had met entirely different people in my life, I would be an entirely different person.
Right.
Thus, all of this energy has been vested into me. And I'm just going to go sit in a hole?
I just can't help but think that their thought forms are more powerful than you're giving it credit for.
Okay. So, if their thoughts are so powerful, why do they not have... Why... Because I feel like being in the trenches and doing the work is a very visceral, very real, inescapable thing to confront, to actually see somebody suffering and offer them your knowledge, knowing that, like you said, I can't take everybody with me. I may not even be able to say the right things to this person. I can try, and that's what fucking matters. But if I'm hiding in a fucking hole somewhere praying for you, that's... Oh, I feel really good that this guy's praying for me. Whew, thank God. Meanwhile, I'm still fucking hungry.
I really think it has a stronger effect than you think. Like, maybe the effect will not have any sort of visible, it won't show up in a particular lifetime. If a dude's a heroin addict, physical action and meditation are probably going to do about the same thing. Fucking nothing. If I, like, take all of his stash and throw it down the toilet, break all of his needles, doesn't matter, he's going to figure out how to do it again. If I sit there and meditate on him getting better, it doesn't matter, he's going to do it again. But if I just meditate on, may he receive exactly what he needs beyond what I know that to be, and you just imagine the most wonderful light and energy coming into his life, maybe next lifetime he'll get it. Maybe this lifetime he'll get it. You don't get to decide that.
See, okay, so...
And I just don't think there needs to be physical evidence for that action to be perfectly valid. I think that's like, it's a really... The garbage man, if the garbage man, he's helping the community, somebody's got to take the garbage out. But if he's just thinking the worst thoughts all fucking day, fuck everyone, man. That guy's a piece of shit because he's wearing a hat I don't like. That guy cut me off. I hope he fucking chokes on a dick and dies. If he's just spewing poison in every fucking direction and he's rude to everyone he comes across, fuck him. I want him out of my community. He'd be better off leaving the community and thinking positive thoughts.
Okay, so... So, in the case of the heroin addict, alright, again, if I come in every day at 3 o'clock and throw his stash away, every fucking day, sure, he's gonna get really pissed, okay? But eventually, he's gonna get weaned off, because I'm gonna keep him from getting it. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep fucking doing it, right? And... eventually, he's either going to get very fucking far away from me, or he's going to get the message. And he's going to know that, dude, this guy, in a world where I think nobody cares about me, this guy is putting forth these actions that everybody else says is wasteful. But spiritually, deep down, this guy knows that it's going to work. And that's why he keeps coming and throwing my stash away. And... there's a connection, a bond, and that moves the heroin addict on a spiritual level, realizing that this is not about him anymore. This is about me and this guy who keeps coming to help me. This guy risks me punching him in the face and stabbing him with my fucking needles because he wants to help me, right? As opposed to the guy who's in church that he's never met saying, God, I really hope, or his brother, who has disowned him, but prays for him every day. No, you can't come over. We don't talk anymore until you're clean. Are you clean? Well, then I'm hanging up. But I will pray for you. Thanks a lot for that. But if that brother were to say, hey, you know, no, you can't come over, but I'll come over to your house. And doesn't throw a stash away, but just sits there. And every time he comes over, the heroin guy sees his brother say a prayer. That's a well-balanced spirituality. Because, yeah, this is, see me pray for you. That means a lot more than just, I told you I did, and now you have to believe it. Sure, I might be praying, but...
you don't have to tell anybody.
You're right. But have you seen Where the Red Fern Grows?
No.
Okay, so I can't remember the boy's name. He really wants 2 hound dogs so he can go hunting raccoons. And he prays, and he prays, and he prays, and he prays. All summer long. And he tells his dad, you know, I've been praying, and I just don't think God is listening. And the dad says, well, praying is mighty fine. I'm sure God believes that you really want this dog, but have you what have you done? Have you done your part? What part of the bargain have you upheld? I can pray for somebody to get better all damn day. What I have to put something else into. Spirits, if you guys will help me, I'm gonna go do this. Better yet, I'm doing this. Spirits, help me.
Right. Yeah, I dig that. I mean, that was an argument I was about to make, is maybe that person having the strength and the dedication and the compassion to throw away the heroin addict's stash every day is driven by the fact that there are 30,000 people praying for that. Maybe he wouldn't even have the strength to do it if those prayers and thought forms weren't in the air coming to him to give him the vigor it takes to make that happen. I think it's all a part of the picture.
So, okay, so that comes again to community, though. How, I think that, I think praying and attraction and all of that really only works for yourself. You attract things to you. So positive stuff comes to you. Positivity happens around you. Just like I can't pray negativity upon a person, I can pray negativity upon myself. If I'm in contact with a very positive person, it's a battle of whose ivity is stronger.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say, I think that we can affect each other. I'm not saying that if somebody starts thinking negative thoughts about me, that all of a sudden they can cause a hail of shitstorm in my life. But I think that if I sit and think terrible thoughts about a person, it stings. They can feel it on some level. And will it manifest as something actually happening in their life? I don't fucking know. But, there's black magic and there's white magic. It's a real fucking thing. I think that
happened to me. I've had somebody speak a negative experience into existence in my life.
Do you want to talk about it?
I can briefly touch on it.
This is Cody, everybody. Say what's up.
So,
I was telling them to tell you what's up, but I assume they did.
So, I lived in an ashram for 5 years. When it came time for me to leave, things changed a lot, and one of the people who is regarded as the head of the organization...
Hey, you don't have to get in the frame, but the camera probably can't hear you from there.
You don't think?
I would speak up anyway.
Well, yeah, so this lady told me that staying in the ashram was keeping a lot of very unfortunate circumstances at bay. And sure enough, when I left, I had a really hard time getting my shit together. It's years later and I'm still kind of scrambling.
See, and so I don't think, but she told, you heard this with your own ears from her, right? You heard those words.
And I've also heard, secondhand, saying other things like that about me to other people.
Mm-hmm. So I still think that it was the action of her being with you, sharing space and being present, that gave her spiritual inclination any power,
I think it was me that gave her the power.
Again, and that comes to a spiritual thing also, where if you're spiritually balanced with your community, then you should be able to, I feel like you should be able to block those types of influences, right? Just like if you're in a conversation with a person, we learn how to develop a callus in conversation, hopefully like politicians, right? They're able to discuss really heavy things. I think part of being balanced spiritually is being able to block negative encounters.
But you would still let positive energy come in, even if it's just a background signal from the billion people on the planet thinking about puppies and rainbows.
I would think something entirely different than both of those. I would think that positive or negative, it's your personal responsibility to digest any energy that comes your way.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, anything, mental health, spiritual health, physical health, those all are digesting bits of information or input,
right,
and turning it into something useful.
Someone's feeding more digestible, more powerful energy into the field that'll work way better for you. Like, that's a good thing. That's positive action. I think it's a lot. I think it's valid. Maybe physical action is stronger. It's absolutely needed. It is 100% needed.
But we need to stop using the word stronger. We need to use the word that, because we're talking about balance. You can't have one without the other, because I could go and throw away the drug addict's needles every day, but if I go and say, you fucking piece of shit, how many fucking times I gotta go through this? I gotta come over here and clean up after you. You're shooting heroin again. Fuck you, man. Don't you know you're fucking wasting your potential? Don't you know you got people counting on you? You're hurting everybody. Is that going to make them want to quit?
No.
I'm putting in a lot of action, though. But if I show up and, hey, I'm here to throw your shit away, bro. Come on, Dude, we talk about this all the time, man. It's your wife and kids, bro. Like, I'm not even here for me. I'm here. That's who you have to worry about. That's what I'm throwing this away for. And I'm doing this because I love you. You have so much to offer, and I just want the real you back. That makes me want to quit. I don't do drugs, but it makes me want to start up just so I can quit.
It caused conflicts in me, because from the heroin addicts that I've known, they would probably figure out a way to scam that person, or like their mindset is, I need heroin, I will do anything to get it. Like, I've seen people do the worst things to their closest family members to get more heroin.
And it's because they're spiritually corrupt.
Right.
Something has happened in their life. Something within their community has happened to them. Maybe it was the death of a parent. Maybe it was an assault on the drug addict themselves. Maybe it was just a living conditions and a coincidental kind of thing that happened. But something happened within their community. Their community was out of balance. Their spirituality was therefore out of balance, and they succumbed to the only thing, or the thing, that made them feel good. If you're spiritually balanced, you will feel good.
For sure.
If you feel good, you won't need to use the drugs.
I think that balance happens in the community, not the individual.
And so this is what we're talking about. It's your community has to be balanced, but if you're not balanced and your community is, what good is that for you?
I don't think that like spiritual balance happens necessarily, like you're not just balanced all the time. That's not a thing that happens. We all swing in different ways. I think it's important that the heroin user exists. I think it's important that the dude in the cave exists. I think that it's important that corrupt people in organizations exist, religious or not. And I think it's important that nihilists exist, all of it. Like, it's all of everything. It is balanced.
And this comes back to what we were talking about, like your bioflora and ecosystems anywhere. They have predators, they have prey. If you eradicate one, then the other one gets out of control and destroys something else, which makes it harder to bring back the original thing that was taken away. And you leave, we were talking about the case in point with, deer in the Midwest when the wolves were all hunted out because they were threatening livestock. The deer flourished and got really crazy, and they ate all of the flora, and all of the flora being gone caused erosion, which fucked up all the rivers and stuff and started killing off the fish, and that pissed off the farmers who wanted to go fishing. The same farmers that killed off all the goddamn wolves. So what did they have to do? Reintroduce the wolves to start killing off some of the deer so that the grass would grow back, so that the rivers would shallow or deepen back up and they could go fishing again. It took 20 years, but it worked. So yes, there is definitely, the community has to be balanced. There is not really, what we were saying earlier, there's not really a positive or negative or there's not really a good or bad. There is positive and negative because they're opposing forces, but they're not good or bad. They're just existing neutral. They have to be there.
I think there's wanted and unwanted, which is different for every individual.
Okay. What do you mean? I
Well-
mean, everybody wants to be healthy. Everybody wants to,
Right,
have
but
good relationships.
I don't want to get slapped during sex. Some people do.
Right, and okay.
Slapping during sex is not good or bad. It's something that people like, and I don't.
Okay. So, what does that have to do with balance, bro? I mean, did she slap you so hard that you were off balance for a while, and it was like, you're like, my fucking God. Hold on, I gotta put this back on.
I was just saying that because you were talking about there being good and bad. I don't think there is good and bad. I think there is unwanted and wanted, and that's different for every single individual.
Okay, so and as far as the community is concerned, but on an individual level, as far as balance goes, physical, mental, spiritual, I still think, because one of the original questions was, is everybody balanced differently? And, everybody has different elements in their life that they have to balance, but the activity employs all of the same muscles. When we stand, one leg or no legs or one leg shorter than the other or whatever it is, we're employing the same muscles in our core, the same workings of our inner ear to stand upright. And it's different for all of us. Some of us have more baggage to carry, but we're using the same muscles. So, yes, it's still mental, physical, and spiritual health, but your community, that has a bunch of elements that are not good or bad. They are wanted or unwanted, and that changes from individual to individual. And that is where I think spirituality, try to influence your community on a spiritual level, hopefully influences their wants and desires. Not that any one want is good or bad necessarily. For instance, like slapping during sex. Okay, who cares? If somebody wants to get high, okay, who cares? But, a person that wants to do heroin to escape. Okay, everybody should have, okay, whatever. But they're running the risk of becoming addicts and therefore becoming a burden on society, throwing their lives away, ruining their potential to be happy. That is clearly unwanted by everybody. That is clearly unhealthy and sick and unbalanced. We should act as a community and as individuals to intervene, to try to prevent that and keep it from happening. So I guess, but it's not, we have to have the drug addicts so that we recognize what we got. But to just accept that they're here is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just still, to me, it's not bad and good. It's wanted and unwanted. The heroin addict may think, I want heroin, but ultimately, I think just about every heroin addict who takes ayahuasca realizes that they don't want that. And that, they become connected to that greater thing that's thinking positive thoughts about them all the time, and they usually pull themselves out of it with ayahuasca. And I'm just saying that everyone may not want him to do heroin, and he wants it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's doing something bad. He's doing something unwanted. That's all.
Sure, okay. I get what you're saying. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. Okay. Yes.
And it also is like, I don't ever want that for my life, because he probably can't see it being inside of the cycle, or maybe he does.
From what I understand, most addicts do see, if they do come to a point where they see what's going on.
So they actually don't want it themselves. They just can't help themselves.
Right.
But regardless, you'll look at it, you'll be like, I don't want that shit for sure.
Right.
That's what happened to me.
And so for them, the reason they are stuck in the cycle is they may not want to be a drug addict, but they really don't want to do the work that it takes to get clean, because that is really tough, soul-searching, gut-wrenching. Let's get really inside and make you vulnerable and expose all the pain that you've been numbing. Let's put it out there in the air, and let's throw some salt on it while we're here.
Yeah,
and let's throw some cayenne. And we're not done yet. We got some bleach. And let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And, you know, then you can get better.
For sure.
So, but that is a community, you know. A community comes forth and reaches out to you at some point. Something in your community, or, you know, and inside has to...
As long as there's people around you, you're in a community. If that guy decided to go off and meditate out in the middle of the forest, either he's going to die from heroin withdrawal, or he's going to get better. He doesn't actually...
I'm so enlightened.
I mean, if you don't know what you're doing out there meditation-wise, and you don't have the proper guidance, maybe you could just go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I would have the thought of experiment of he can only remain a heroin addict with a community.
True, because somebody has to manufacture and distribute.
Right. It just might be a shitty one that doesn't want to help them.
Exactly, but but you know, the guys that are selling the heroin are hopefully using that money, you know, to buy food for somebody in their family, right?
Right. I mean, well, we're coming up on 2 hours here. So, I've been trying to find like a nice spot to leave it off, and we just keep gaining momentum.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we made some really, well, I don't want to toot our horn. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I just put a video out. I don't know if anybody out there has seen it, but it's on YouTube. It's on our Liquid Sound Disciples YouTube channel, and it's called Ephewe, Scars We Left and Took. I want to thank Tough Cookies and Indoor Fanatics for helping out, and Danny Tinker for helping out. Noricano Perez, she is on the hook along with Jay Fez. Thank you, guys. Jay Fizz, thank you so much for helping out with that. It was completely awesome. I don't know who Dewey Binns is. I've never met the guy, but he's the producer of that particular track. It's a badass beat, man. Hell yeah, totally rocking. It's on Life So Severe. You can find it anywhere that you can buy music online. We'll be back next Saturday.
Sounds good to me, man. I'm down for it.
Okay, cool. So
watch out for live stream 7, son. What?
Thanks for getting fresh with Citrus and F. Peace. Oh, we need a better way to end this, because I was always doing that and then it's like,